Welcome to the Mars LOCI. I'm Steve Schultz, and we talk about Mars stuff. First question is always, who wants to go to Mars? I want to know. I want to go to Mars. Not ready for it yet. Probably be too old when I am ready for it. But I want to know. Send me some information. Tell me why you want to go or why you don't want to go. All right, we're going to talk about some political stuff today. What the policy is going to be when we hit Mars. Initially, of course, there'll be just a handful of people up there, a lot of robots, but only a few people. And we're going to have some form of government, some form of law. All will have to be worked out, probably by the people on Mars. But I know that Elon is in favor of a direct democracy. Yeah, I'm not that keen on it. Direct democracy, for those who don't know, is essentially everybody votes on everything. Now, with the cell phone, we certainly have the ability to do that. Greece was one of the earlier people that did that. They did it a lot of different ways. They had to do it in person, obviously, because they didn't have cell phones. We could do it. We certainly could do it. Every single law that comes up, every single issue that comes up, you can vote on. I don't think it's productive to do it that way. I think most people don't want to concentrate on exactly what's happening in the government that much. I think you could have some kind of variation on that. I do believe that a lot of the votes could be carried on the cell phone in various ways. But not a direct democracy. I think a representative democracy is the best way to go. One of the big things we see from people like Bernie Sanders, for instance, is that he's upset that half the country, in fact less than that, a very small percentage of the country, is billionaires. They have more money than the rest of the country. The one person has as much stuff as the lowest 50% or 40%. The problem with that philosophy is that if you take 100 people and put them on an island, let them on their own recognizance, you're going to find a big portion will rise to the top of the pecking order, and a big portion will rise to the bottom, or sink to the bottom, I should say. If you take people that are wealthy in our country or other countries, and you strip them of their wealth and you put them out there with an equal playing field, they're going to turn around and become wealthy again, in most cases, because they're smarter and because they're driven. They're driven to do things that are better. Now, that's what it comes right down to. So the idea that you shouldn't use billionaires to help with your government, which is what's happening right now in our particular system with Trump, is foolish. Those are the smartest people. That's why they made it to the top. And the reality is that if you think they're enriching themselves by taking time away from their business and going in and running certain offices within the government, that as a general rule don't enrich them at all. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. Take a look what happened to Elon Musk. You think he gained anything from doing Dodge? It was enormously taxing to him on every single level, including financially. It's pitiful. So this argument that's being made about billionaires are taking over the government by enriching themselves is exactly the opposite. They'd be far better off by staying a mile away from the government, not going anywhere near, just doing their own thing. They got enough money to live comfortably for the rest of their life. It's foolish. But what we want to do is when we go to Mars, we want to see if we can correct some of the problems we've made. I don't know if there's any way to correct the problem of the distribution of people in a society where some rise to the top and some sink to the bottom. I don't know how you solve that. I can tell you one way not to solve it, and that is through communism or that type of a government system. It doesn't work. All it does is take an entire group and make it homogenous so that there's no incentive to do anything better, and ultimately fails. It's a central planning operation that's terrible. It doesn't work. You have to use your best and brightest people. You have to incentivize those people because they're going to come up with new things, just like Musk. The argument I've heard a lot of times from Musk is that, oh man, he got millions of dollars. No kidding. Who else has a rocket that can go into space? Nobody. No kidding he's getting the millions of dollars to go in there. Boeing tried it. They failed miserably. Up until 5 years ago or so, we had to rely on Russia going into space. That's pitiful. NASA couldn't do it. We couldn't do it. Yeah, they're paying them tens of millions of dollars because you can do it. That's what it comes right down to. It's foolish. So as far as that goes, you always want your best and brightest to be up front. And hopefully, they've got some benevolence in their system so that they'll do the right thing, and they mostly do. They mostly do. Back to the situation as far as the government goes, we're going to have to sit there and do some thinking on which route to go on a self-governing system, and on Mars especially. It'll be a small population initially, so it's not going to be all that outrageous of a system. But I think a representative democracy of some form, and there are a lot of ways to work that, is the best way to get started and to roll along. I do think that because of modern technology, we can have the individual voices heard quickly, very quickly, so that they can vote on major things, whatever that happen to be. You have people, hopefully, you get that are smart enough that'll go in there and think about what laws they want to create and not create. I think one of the biggest problems we have in our democracy in the United States is that there's a lot of incentive to enrich yourself. And what I can tell you that I've noticed is that you don't have a lot of billionaires going into the government with the idea of enriching themselves. They're already rich. They don't need to enrich themselves a lot more. Can they? Yeah, probably, if they really put their mind to it. But I think they can probably do it without being in the government. They already did it without being in the government. Why go in the government and take the pain in the ass you have to do when you try to do stuff in there? So I don't see that happening. I think that's not their motivation. Their motivation is not being more wealthy. They're already wealthy. Now, start getting into political figures that are not wealthy, which is a lot of the Senate, and representatives. That's a different story. A lot of those people come in there and they really do want to enrich themselves. All right, I'm not even against that. If you've got a representative in there, he's got a specific idea, and he has some people that he's pushing the idea for because he likes the idea, and he can explain that. I think I don't have a problem with them taking funds or participating in some income from that. I don't have a problem with that. But to say that the Senate across the board doesn't want to enrich themselves is not, I don't think that's an accurate statement at all. I think that the largest group that doesn't care about enriching themselves is going to be the billionaires. I mean, they don't really care about enriching themselves more. They've got everything they need. What are they going to buy? A planet? I think there's one, but it's not for sale, and that's Mars. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. I'm trying to make this short and pithy, and we appreciate it.